Hi guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to the desktop for another retro RPG. And this week I'd like to present this, Cthulhu Now, the 1987 source book from Chaosium. Now, I've just learnt that it's pronounced Chaosium rather than Chaosium, as I've been pronouncing it for many, many years. And everyone always thought it was the Cthulhu part, which was the hard bit to learn how to pronounce. But Chaosium it is. I've seen Sandy Petersen in a video pronouncing it that way, and if anybody should know, it's probably him. Anyway, this is Cthulhu Now, which brings Call of Cthulhu up to modern day. Now, as I said, this came out in 1987, and for the 90s they renamed it to Cthulhu 1990, which I thought was a bit short-sighted because it was obviously only going to last one decade. I don't have that version of it, although I do have adventures like Last Rites here, which is marked to 1990s instead of Cthulhu Now. The book itself obviously doesn't have as much world building as Dreamlands does, the source book I covered a couple of months ago, because this is the world we're living in. So it's got a few updates for the rules, weapons, and the like, plus some very good adventures. But let's flip over to the back cover and let's get started. Cthulhu Now, modern background and adventures for Call of Cthulhu role-playing. Pleasures of power, and those first men formed the cult around small idols which the Great Ones showed them. Idols brought in dim mirrors from dark stars. That cult would never die till the stars came right again, and the secret priest would take great Cthulhu from his tomb to revive his subjects and resume his rule of Earth. The time would be easy to know, for then mankind would become as the great old ones, free and wild and beyond good and evil, with laws and morals thrown aside and all men shouting and killing and reveling in joy. H.P. Lovecraft. Cthulhu and the Old Ones remain powerful in the half-century since Lovecraft's death. The world is well explored, but the darkness within men's souls is unfathomable. Now human fortunes encompass Cthulhu and the H-bomb too. Does technology aid the struggle for good, or is it helpless against forces from beyond space, beyond time? Cthulhu Now includes 4 role-playing adventures: The City and the Sea, Killer Out of Space, The Evil Stars, and Dreams Dark and Deadly. Background essays provide new skills and occupations, up-to-date cash flow information, an elaborate firearms article, and a fold-out illustrating contemporary firearms. Active and passive night vision equipment, a survey of forensic pathology from Sherlock Holmes' day to present. Required reading for every serious player, and even a hit location option, useful when lots of bullets must be dealt with. Player aids for the adventures are repeated on perforated pages at the back of the book. This book is companions to publications such as H.P. Lovecraft's Dreamlands, Terra Australis, and Gaslight, which also situate Cthulhu players in other times and places. Does it have the pronunciation here? Nope, this one doesn't have the pronunciation, it was only Dreamlands. Now that's what it does. Basically, you don't need a lot of world building, you just need the technology updated. And there's some interesting other stuff. So let's start flicking through it. As they all started with a portrait of Howard Phillips Lovecraft, the man himself. As you can see, the copyright information here is 1987. And we've got contents, which are a bit complex. I would have liked it just to have the adventures instead of every single section within the adventure, to streamline it, but I suppose it is useful for you being able to find whereabouts in the adventure you are. But it's not that thick of a book. Contemporary investigators. So, what they know, who they are, and what they do, and how much cash they need. So we're sort of updating things and telling information, the Deep One cities. Now, today the entire sleeve floor has been mapped by military sonar. I have no evidence of the Deep One's highly developed civilization come to light. Perhaps the Deep Ones find it simple to fool our crude sonar or feed us indetectably false signals. So what it's doing is the things which were mysteries in the 1920s for Call of Cthulhu, it's fleshing out a bit here and giving us information on why they might still be a mystery. Chthonian tunnels, the Mountains of Madness, cultists, magic. So it's updating, gives you new skills. So you've got electronics and pilot aircraft now. Investigator income, investigator savings and living costs. So when you're creating characters, they can have a sensible amount of money instead of being left with a pittance because 1920s dollars are virtually worthless. A new updated character sheet with the investigator skills on it. We've got new equipment, so bulletproof vests, stun guns, mace. Obviously this is written in the late 80s, so a lot of stuff's going to be missing. There's going to be no mobile phones in this version. A section I absolutely adore, a section on nuclear weapons. What about nukes? They're clearly the most destructive weapons available to mankind. Shouldn't even the horrors of the mythos take pause before trying to destroy a species with such awesome might? Not necessarily. Many of the great ones must chortle at glee at our access to self-destructive power. There are indications that Nal-Hotep may have assisted humanity in creating the first nuclear bomb. And it goes on, but the final section, the final question is always, what happens when we nuke Cthulhu? The answer is, of course, he reforms 15 minutes later, but now he's radioactive. So, radioactive Cthulhus. Or Cthulhu. We're on to Firearms, with Firearms tables and updated, so the AK-47 and newer weapons. Galil Assault Rifle, M16s. And lots of information on those. On more dangerous weapons in the hands of players. Silencers, concealed weapons, breaking the law. We've got a long section on forensic pathology here, so very useful because obviously detection has changed a lot between the 1920s and today, when you can actually get modern things like fingerprints. I'm not even sure they've been discovered back in the 1920s. The modern era. About the coroner, so giving you all the information that you would need in the investigation when the dead body gets found by the police and what information the coroner will be able to give the investigators. An option for hit locations. And hit locations for all the creatures. So you can shoot Cthulhu and you can hit him in the right wing. Or the tentacle mass. Elder things with 5 legs, 5 tentacles and 5 wings. Fire vampires who just have a body. Shoggoths also just have bodies. But we've got lots of other creatures here. Moon beasts, Migo, Loigor, Hands of Tindalos. And just the hit locations to allow you to instantly use these rules with all the creatures in the basic book. And we're on to the city and the sea. So we've got the adventures here. And this first adventure, when you need to go underwater. They're searching the ocean floor. Obviously, I'm not going to go into too many details because I don't want to ruin these adventures if anyone wants to run them. But, you know, using submarines and mini-subs and more modern technology in a Cthulhu adventure, something which wouldn't be available in the 1920s setting. Dreams Dark and Deadly, where our heroes journey to high country of Colorado to investigate untimely madness and other strange going-ons beside the bottomless depths of a mountain lake. So we've got an institute here, which the players must infiltrate. Bringing things out of people's minds. The Cthulhu mythos creatures, intangible. A ghostly Cthulhu summoned up. The Killer Out of Space. A follow-up to The Color Out of Space, taking that 1920s setting Lovecraft story and bringing it up to modern day. I have run this, and it's a brilliant adventure. It's a lot of fun. My players don't tend to take Cthulhu too seriously, but they had a lot of fun running around and shining torches to disturb it because it was just a light source and things like that. But it starts off with a crashed space shuttle. How much more modern day could you ask? Well, modern day 1980s. The Drained Astronauts. The Reign of the Colour. A fantastic adventure, just a whole load of fun. Just totally unexpected. The players trying to work out what's going to happen. Trying to defeat something which is totally alien and totally different to anything they've experienced before. A really good adventure. The Evil Stars. So we've got them investigating a rock band who are summoning Cthulhu. There you go. How much satanic panic can you stand in one book where even Cthulhu Adventures are going after it? Now, personally, I find this adventure amusing because the band that they're investigating is called God's Lost Children, abbreviated to GLC. Well, that used to be the Greater London Council. We used to hear a lot about that in the UK in the 80s and 90s because while we had a right-wing conservative government, the government of London and London Council was very left-wing. It was a Labour Party run by a very left-wing leader. And we used to hear about all of the conflicts between the GLC and Parliament. So amused me that the group here is called GLC. And investigating rock bands, because let's be honest, your investigators are probably going to be mild-mannered librarians and government agents. They're not going to fit in with a rock band. Although, if that's an image of a rock band, I'm not quite sure what it is. Very glam rock. 80s hair metal. And with the summoning of some unspeakable monster. I was tempted to say too much there. And then we're on to the handouts. So, lots of stuff from the adventure, nicely handwritten notes and cuttings from newspapers to hand out to your players to feed them information. Very high quality, as all Chaosium products were. And then a photocopiable set of character sheets at the back here. I'm not sure who would cut them out, but there's 3 there. And then we've got these fold-out weapons, which seem a bit out of place for Call of Cthulhu. It's never been a game about having lots of guns, and surely a smaller illustration of some of these would have been handy. Geez, this handout is massive. But just having illustrations of these in the weapons pages might have been a lot nicer. And that's Cthulhu Now. It's a setting for Cthulhu that I've used quite a bit, even if I've not been using the Cthulhu rules. I've introduced it into other modern day games. And I really like all the Cthulhu Now stuff. I've got most of the adventures. I've run my way through many of the campaigns and things in the Cthulhu Now setting, and I highly, highly recommend it. But, as always, I think I've whittled on for quite long enough. So, please like and subscribe, as you do me a whole load of favours with the elder gods of the YouTube algorithm. If you do, I would be very grateful. But most of all, as always, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.